As the grieving families of Santa Fe bury their loved ones, the governor launches a search for solutions. Will all the earnest talk of hardening schools ultimately make them safer? Or is it really just political theater? At the ballot box, Democrats pick a gay Latina senior citizen to challenge Greg Abbott. Will Lupe Valdez help or hurt the long-shot quest to turn Texas blue? A new rule in the NFL outlaws kneeling during the anthem. Did the league buckle to presidential pressure? And will highly paid players relinquish their free speech? And on the global stage, deal or no deal? The commander-in-chief calls off peace talks with nuclear-armed North Korea. Can détente be salvaged? Or will the prospect of deadly confrontation grow? I'm Greg Grugan, and welcome to What's Your Point, where our panelists call it like they see it. Let's meet them. Starting us off, former state representative Republican Steve Toth. Next up, longtime super neighborhood leader Tomaro Bell. In the 3 spot, Republican State Senator Paul Bettencourt. Batting cleanup, Marcus Davis, radio host of Sunday Morning Live. Next up, businessman, columnist, and former Kemah Mayor Bill King. And closing us out on the hot corner, Chicano activist and educator Tony Diaz. Let's do this. As we lay our Santa Fe dead to rest, those who remain have begun the search for answers, for changes that can make mass murder in our schools even a little less likely, less costly in terms of bloodshed, lives lost, and hearts broken. To that end, Texas Governor Greg Abbott has convened roundtable discussions with stakeholders, parents, police, educators, and yes, past victims. What will emerge remains to be seen. Some fear the high-profile gatherings are just political window dressing, but others see a governor and a lieutenant governor genuinely seeking the means to make our children and those who teach them safer.
The reality is that we all want guns out of the hands of those who would try to murder our children. The question is, what are we, the leaders of Texas, going to do to prevent this from happening again?
Okay, panel, what's your point? I'm starting with State Senator Paul Bettencourt.
Well, first off, tremendous tragedy still in Santa Fe. Lots of funerals in the last couple days. But this is a real roundtable. It's going to have real results. You're going to hear a lot about a program that was a telemedicine and wellness program in Lubbock that did a lot of work with kids over the last 4 years. And they actually stopped a kid from loading a gun in a bathroom, almost ready to make another tragedy happen. And basically what this is Texas Tech and other DPS and everyone else working together to look for troubled kids, get them out of school, transfer them if they need to, or just flat get them help and do interventions, do triage, and do referrals. And I think it's going to be a great program. It's on my Facebook this morning. You can see it at paulbettencourt.com or at Vote Bettencourt, either way.
Tomaro Bell, you're a mother. You have worked with neighborhoods. As you see this unwind, you see what's going on in Austin, do you have hope for change?
I truly hope, because this is getting closer and closer to home. Unfortunately for me, the first time I seen someone get killed was at high school in the 9th grade. He was bullied. He waited for the guy to come out of gym. We were taking gym class, and I've never forgotten that. And I know that for these children, you know, the fear of going back, because I mean, we had just started school, and it was very difficult to even go that way. We were so frightened to go that way. And I'm hoping that this is truly a call for action, because the technology that exists currently, it is a shame with what's going on that the schools are not using it. There's mechanisms where you can tell ID software when somebody hit the door, where they bought their jeans, what kind of jeans they got on, and you can do that. They can use that. You need to have metal detectors. I'm sorry. I don't care if they call it invasion of privacy. I wasn't that kind of mama. Ain't no locks on my doors, okay? I'm just not that kind of mama. Your kids should not be able to have another life that you say you knew nothing of, living in the same house with you. So it's not just the government, but there's a call for action at home, because he didn't get those guns at school. He brought them from home. So I think that it takes more than just the government. We've got to look at ourselves to see how we can stop this.
Steve Toth, 99% chance you'll be in Austin come January. What do you think will actually happen? Do you think laws will be changed?
The laws will be changed. We're 20 years past Columbine. We're 5 years past Sandy Hook, and very little has changed. And it's just shocking to see what happened to Santa Fe. Very similar to what happened 5 years ago at Sandy Hook, where a kid got a gun from a parent, came to school and used it and hurt a lot of people, killed a lot of people. It's egregious that this can still happen in Texas, and yes, some laws will change. I'd love to see us stiffen the penalty for a parent that does not store and lock up guns so that their kids cannot get access to them. That's unconscionable.
Okay. Meantime, in the latest version of the blame game, National Rifle Association spokesperson Dana Loesch accused the news media of inspiring past and future school shootings by the sheer quantity of coverage afforded school shootings.
The media has got to stop creating more of these monsters by oversaturation. I'm not saying don't responsibly report on things as they happen. Look, I understand it, but constantly showing the image of the murderer, constantly saying their name is completely unnecessary.
Marcus Davis, what's your read on the NRA and what you're seeing in Austin?
First, let's establish that the NRA has culpability in this.
Oh, come on.
I mean, let's just establish that. And I am not saying that from the view that you're possibly perceiving.
You're a
they
member.
lead the I am a gun owner.
Yeah.
And they lead the nation in what happens in this nation with regard to guns. So yes, they have some culpability in this. They should be responsible. But I got to say that she is absolutely correct. I mentioned on this program last week, the very first thing that we did after we waited outside of that school for a child to run out of the most horrific situation that they had experienced in their life. And the first thing we did was put a microphone in their face to ask them, tell me what happened. Tell me what was going on. Tell me how many shots. Tell me where you hid. Tell me what the closet looked like. Tell me what the Scotch tape on the floor looked. And it is absolutely from 7 a.m. that morning when it began to 7 a.m. the next day, we highlighted this. And there was some kid sitting there who was experiencing the same emotional state that this kid experienced. And he fed off of every single piece of footage that we put on television. We've got to do something about that. The other thing we've got to do something about, I've quoted Dr. King on this subject before and I'll repeat it. He talked about the Jericho Road. And you can't talk about the crime on the Jericho Road without talking about the city of Jericho itself. If we're not talking about what produces these children that feel unwanted, unloved, that they don't get the attention that they want, that they deserve. We start at home, we talk about the community, and yes, we got to talk about where our government is responsible in putting money in the school that addresses counseling for all students.
Good, Mark.
Tony Diaz spends more time with people in their teenage years and early 20s than any of us because he's a teacher. What's your read on what's going on?
Well, regarding that message, let's have responsible reporting across the board. Let's be responsible as activists. So I'm not going to take her bait because I'm pro freedom of speech. I'm pro 1A and 2A. And let me just say one thing about that, though. Mainstream media helps older folks catch up to younger folks. So we could do a complete blackout of all reporting of this, and the young folks would have 10 times more access to all this information. So, I mean, it's a new era that we're talking about. On top of it, people are doing stuff already. Schools are doing shooter drills across the board, high school and college level. I know some community colleges are hiring extra police staff, up to a dozen. Right now, schools are winding down. Probably your high school or middle school, you can't take a backpack to school anymore. So I want the politicians to be put on notice on both sides of the aisle. Changes are happening now. They can be a part of it, or they can be put out of office for it, but people aren't going to put up with it the same way because some of it's symbolic, like some high schools are planting seeds for all the people shot at Santa Fe. Others are more straightforward where they're getting registered to vote.
Bill King, close us out on this topic.
Well, I come back to what I've said before, which is I think this is an aberrant brain chemistry issue and we've got to get it figured out. We've got to do the research. I think programs that Paul talks about, like identifying the kids, and look, I think it's a good thing to harden facilities, but you can't harden all the facilities. I mean, the worst shooting we have was in a church. You're going to start hardening churches? I mean, there are no limit on the number of soft targets that somebody can go do this if they want to. I mean, malls or, you know, a sporting event. I mean, they go on and on and on. You can't harden everything. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to do better security, but I think until we figure out what's causing this problem from a brain chemistry standpoint and figure out a way to identify individuals that are predisposed to do this and get them the help in advance, we're going to continue to see these.
Great comments, team. Just ahead, Lupe Valdez emerges as a choice of Texas Democrats to take on Greg Abbott. Can the 70-year-old ex-sheriff truly challenge the popular Republican governor? Stay with us. We're going to talk about it.